like the editing of the actual show is not how it happened.
Spending money, which is, buying something which is innately contributing to climate change because that thing had to be shipped from somewhere to get to you, and it's just like this endless cycle that feels really hard to escape. But then you take the intentional community and it's like, okay, now you're kind of free of that.
I think most people aren't actually willing to take the risk because for so long the lifestyle that we live in has been kind of like demonized.
Welcome to the first episode of Tree and Julia Community Culture. We are finally making a podcast.
Right now, in this moment, here in New York, it's cold, but we're outside. We're saying, fuck it, let's go.
Yeah, I'm excited because like so much of, YouTube, it's like we're editing it. TikTok, it's like little things. This now gives us a chance to just like talk in detail about the whole thing that we've been doing and why we've been doing it. Also because of the show that just came out, The Garden, Commune or Cult. We have watched the first 2 episodes so far. We have not seen the rest of the show yet, but we decided that they are editing this show in the craziest way I have ever seen. And there's so much that is being like kind of twisted and also just missed. There's so much more to what this project that is being portrayed. So this is going to give us a chance to fill in the blanks for people that are interested.
Yeah, and we're going to try and tell you a little bit of the backstory too, like going from how we even came to the garden to how this whole production was even set up to then talking about some of the craziness of this TV show, the filming process, and seemingly the editing process that has kind of like made us look a lot worse and a lot more weird than what actually happened. Because they kind of done us a little dirty in some of the editing. And we just want to really give you some of the backstory of all the story points that they were really going from. Kind of give you a better idea of maybe like why we asked Niah to leave, which I'm sure you all want to know. So, yeah.
Whew. Yeah. All right. So I was thinking a good starting point for us. There's so much to get into. Like we're like 2 years late on starting this podcast. We should have been documenting like the entire last, there's just so much to this story. But someone asked me on TikTok the other day why we first came to the garden, and I think that is a good starting point. So why did you first come to the garden?
Well, yeah. I kind of was seeking someplace like the garden for a really long time. In particular, like a place that had like an open door policy, because for so long I was traveling from community land projects to rainbow gatherings to just, living on the streets. And a place like the garden where like I was putting my effort into like growing food, but still like living within the culture of traveling, and that kind of vibe is something that I was really seeking, but specifically an open door policy, because like so many times when I've been to communities, they just like close it off, and it's like, what I want to be a part of something that's like radically being like, hey, anyone can come to this at any time, because like this is about like introducing people to this idea of living. And for like 7 years, I was living on people's couches, or these random people that I met, especially through couch surfing. And I really wanted to provide people with like a jumping point, and I wanted to be a part of something that I could like invite anyone I knew or whoever to come and check it out. Because for so long, I was the one, who was being like hosted. And I really wanted to host people. Mm-hmm. But the model of couch surfing is nice, you can make a little profile, but every single time you have to sit there for hours messaging people, being like, hey, I like your little profile, I think you're cool, I want to stay at your house. But I never liked doing that. So I wanted to be a part of a project that I could just put the address, out online, and people would just show up. And I found out about the garden because of how I met you through rainbow gatherings. And we were in Asheville, and basically we were like traveling in our little van, going everywhere, right? And we wanted to go to Asheville. We actually came from here to there from upstate New York. Yeah, it was like during the winter, right? So it was like right now, like it's actually past the prime, but we were trying to travel with the leaves turning.
Yeah. We were traveling south through Asheville.
And then we were outside it was at Food Not Bombs, and there were people outside and they're playing rainbow, like songs and stuff like this. And we've been a big part of that community and many other communities for a long time. But this community is like how we met, and a really important like community for us as people who want to like, live egalitarian in like random community with like people that you've never really met before. Like it's something that we flourish in. And so when we were there and we heard about we met these people, and they were like, hey, like 5 hours away, there's a community that you can like go to, and it's a rainbow community. It started from a rainbow gathering, and you can just like show up there anytime. Like light bulbs like hit off in my head, and I was like, this, like an open door space, like this is perfect. Like that's what I want to put energy to. I want to put energy into a land that, doesn't have like this kind of like hierarchical structure that often you can find at different land projects, where like you're all of a sudden like you're just a volunteer, like helping them get to the point where they want to get to. I want to be a part of a community that I can just like show up to and actually be a part of it. And that was like a radical structure that I really wanted to be a part of.
Yeah.
And so and
I'm like, sorry. I'm like, it's hard. Like, and I'm like, I know your story, so I'm just like, but I'm also like, I can't wait to say why I came there. I'm sorry. So for me, I went to college and I studied environmental geochemical science. And I remember this moment in one of my classes where we had like this class where we kind of like learned about where the world is at with climate change. And I was like, oh my God, like this is not, like just understanding the scope of like, oh wow, we would have needed to change something like 20 years ago if we weren't gonna have to like already like radically change the environment, like understanding that like there's going to be floods, there's going to be droughts, there's going to be famines, like, and this is all going to happen in my lifetime. And even if like I remember at that point, that's like now like 9 years ago, learning that, I was like, oh, like even if we stopped emitting all fossil fuels tomorrow, if we stop burning them, we're still gonna, like, my whole lifetime is gonna be defined by the effects of climate change, right? And so, so then going forward from that, it was like, in my major, it was like, okay, so I can get a job at like a chem lab, and I can like maybe like eventually work on like how to save like this one species of fish as like its waters get warmer, like things like that. And it all felt like too small. Like I was like, I couldn't even really process like the gravity of the problem that was being presented to me. And it felt like, any specific science job I could get felt too small. So I was like, where do I fit in to this as like a movement? You know what I mean? Because I felt like it was like understanding that we need to like radically change the way we're like thinking about life in order to even be like somewhat prepared for the changes that are about to happen, And so when I graduated, I started traveling and kind of just like with that thought in mind, but not really understanding how I was going to get into it. And then I found rainbow gatherings. And, it's a beautiful way to like live in nature with friends, but it was still like, I was like, I feel like this feels so right. This feels so real. But how does this become like life, And then there was intentional communities, and when I understood intentional communities as like, oh, okay, like now we're changing kind of the way we would interact with the world, where instead of buying everything we need, we're producing it locally, right? So you solve that problem of like transporting stuff all around. You solve kind of like some social problems that you see, which is like people are really isolated kind of in their, they're in their apartments and they go to their job and they're kind of cut off from nature, a little bit cut off from each other. We have these social spaces, but they all involve spending money, which is, buying something which is innately contributing to climate change because that thing had to be shipped from somewhere to get to you, and it's just like this endless cycle that feels really hard to escape. But then you take the intentional community and it's like, okay, now you're kind of free of that. You can hang out with each other, you can grow your food, you kind of like divest from that system that's polluting the earth, and also create a really beautiful lifestyle. You know what I'm saying? Like, yeah, so I feel like once I understood that, I was like, okay, I want to live in intentional community, but understanding also that it wouldn't be enough if just I lived in an intentional community. Really,
Right.
everyone has to live in an intentional community. And then that seemed to be like the answer, you know? I was like, oh my God, like if everybody started switching the way that they were living and thinking into like all of us living in these little communities, and then we could trade stuff, and it just started appearing to me as like, whoa, this is like a whole vision, right? And then traveling around, it's like you meet so many other people who are like, I've had the exact same vision, right? Like, have you met people that have been like, oh, a network of communities? Yes, that's exactly what I want to, you know?
Yeah, it's funny that you said that. Just at that point though, it's like this light bulb to like maybe like a why people are questioning goes like being a cult, because like we all have this realization that, you know, like if we want to actually, you know, like, you know, not have our climate be completely destroyed, then we all have to live it, and we have to create these like community models. But the fact that we're not just saying like, hey, like, you know, this is the community, but we're like suggesting that like many groups of people need to make this this thing happen. But like I think a point that people don't understand that haven't been a part of this thing, like a part of the culture of travelers or, you know, farmers or people like this, is that like there's so many people who actually do want it.
Right.
And so like what we're kind of trying to be like is like, to all them people who have wanted it for so long, we're saying, hey, it's possible. You can come experience this one, but it's not about being a part of this one.
Yeah.
And maybe that's like some element of culture that we're really trying to change. And I think like, yeah, we are kind of like trying to, you know, affect culture, but it's hard to say that, you know, like we're the only ones doing that. Like there's so many organizations and groups that are affecting our culture.
We're just kind of taking like the riskiest path in promoting it.
Yeah.
Like that's, I feel, right? Like it's like, because a lot of people were like, you know, why don't you guys just keep living on your land? Like nobody's gonna understand what you're doing. Like it looks really weird to people, you know, like, and I feel like going back to like why we came to the garden was the first place that we found where there were other people that were like, no, let's take that risk. And that's, I think, something a lot of people, like I feel like most people who work out at the garden who really like are also have that kind of activist mindset of like, I'm not doing this because I want to just live on land in peace forever. Like I'm doing this because I'm willing to like scream it from the rooftops as loud as possible. And I think that that's why we really resonated with the people at the garden, because it was like, they were like, oh, you want to do that too? All right, cool, let's do it together. And then we were able to. It like literally took off, like, which is so cool. Also, I'm really proud sometimes of like just the group at the garden and how much we were able to accomplish together. You know, as crazy as this show is, it's like the fact that we were able to scream it from the rooftops as loud as we have is really, I think, a beautiful testament to like people working together towards something, you know. Like,
yeah, and I think like anyone could be in the position that we are in also right now. It's not that we're like special. I mean, maybe we have some good ideas, but like I think most people aren't actually willing to take the risk, because for so long the lifestyle that we live in has been kind of like demonized.
Yeah.
You know, like the homeschooling is demonized, the, you know, like the just like living off the land, like all these things like a lot of society is trying to get away from. They're kind of trying to create like these superior structures and ideals to kind of like create this like little piece of heaven. But it's false, and it's actually like destroying the world. Maybe. I mean, I think so. But like,
wait, what is, sorry, the like consumer culture?
Yeah, but a lot of like the institutions that are not allowing like free thinking and like family organization, you know, like you have to send your kid away to some school. I mean, that's like a lot of like trauma that I've faced is from these schools, and so like that's a lot of part that you know I refer to as a thing that's like really like messed me up in being like an individual, and you know. But anyway, I wanted to kind of like still talk about the garden and how that's going and how we got there.
Yeah, there's so much to get into. It's funny. I knew this was gonna happen in the first episode. I was gonna be like, oh my gosh, we're gonna try to like cover all everything.
Yeah.
But yeah, okay. So
We get there, right?
We get so we get there.
You want to talk about that?
To the garden, like what? Our first day ever at the garden?
No, I don't. Well, it's important to understand, you know, because like a part of the show is really funny that like there's these random shots where we're just like sitting there, and they like made us look pretty crazy, you know, like when Oak came down, like we ended up having like this, you know, like nice conversation.
Oh, wait. Sorry. That's a spoiler.
No, it's in the show.
He hasn't arrived yet.
In the second episode.
No, he doesn't arrive yet.
Yeah, he does. He's down at the kitchen. He's like,
oh,
hey.
you're right. Sorry.
So like,
all right, I'm sorry. We're just trying to be really careful about spoilers because we're all confused. But
yeah, but he like gets there and like we're like having a nice conversation with him, and then they cut to these scenes where like he talks, and then like everyone just looks around and just it's like this like deadpan silence, like we were alienating him. But what's kind of funny is that like that scene was kind of like completely made up. Like we had like a really nice conversation. We were talking, and then he just cut to this like idea that we were kind of like, yeah, alienating him. But the funny thing is, like in our community, that kind of vibe actually does happen, and it didn't happen there. I'll tell you that because of course we knew the cameras were there. Like we were like all in this like vibe, you know, like we need to like have these conversations and talk. But funny enough, actually, when we first went to the garden, it was like we got this amazing tour, and then like we ended up going into the school bus, and there were like 6 people in there, and it's like our first time meeting people, and we're all just and we're like, hey, and they're like, some of them are like, hi, and then we just get completely ignored. And it's like a funny thing because like a lot of the people who, you know, like we went there at the winter, right? So a lot of people who like winter at the garden are people who, you know, have been a part of the project for a long time. And because most people just treat kind of like the garden as like a traveling spot to like jump from, and going there in the winter is not usually the vibe because you're either in like Florida or you're out west in a more warmer area.
But yeah, you're talking about like how which is, yeah, it's interesting. Like there is like a different kind of way that we like interact at the garden, right? It's like because we're like people are coming often into the space, but it's like you're also like kind of living there. You're like living your life there. So it's like expecting that when you walk up, people are gonna like drop what they're doing and be like, oh my God, hi, you know, is kind of like the longer you live there, the more you kind of realize like, yeah, it's just kind of like people doing their thing, and like new people show up and it's like, hey, what's up? And like a lot of people have been like, that's so strange. Like no one's questioning why I'm here. But like, yeah, I think that is like, it's just hard to imagine what it's like to be like living in a space like that.
And we've felt at the time, we were like, this is so weird, like we feel uncomfortable. But then like fast forward a year later, we're in the exact same position. It's just funny to realize like what that kind of like open door community where like people are just literally coming and leaving all the time, like actually like affects your sociability. And I think that's a point that they tried to like touch on, but it was in like this fake manner. But anyway, we get there, we ended up like meeting Bobby, who you see in the show, and he helped us a lot. And it's really funny because they talked, should we talk about our first council? We should go even about that.
Sure.
Yeah, so we go to our first council, and Emil and Britt were there at that time, which was cool. It was like a solid vibe. It was getting a little cold. But then at the council, a lot of people were like, hey, we're like doing something really cool. We're in a good space right now. And we kind of want to, you know, express what we're doing, you know, like let's try see, you know, if we put ourselves out there with a little bit more outreach, would it work? And a few people brought up that topic and wanted it, and I was amateur filmmaker and been really passionate about trying to, like film community, because I thought it was the answer to the world's problems, and it was to my problems. Maybe it's not the answer to the whole world's problems, but there's a huge portion of the population out there that is seeking this way of life that don't have access to it. And what changed my life was other people making films about, their lifestyle, about traveling, about family, and about spirituality, that allowed me to have a spiritual awakening, that allowed me to have the courage to travel. So it was other people's videos that, changed my life. And I've been, part of community living and traveling for 6-7 years. I want to like be that person or part of that thing that kind of like makes these videos and helps other people who are in my situation, which was like a really struggling place at home, to know that there is another alternative. And so we filmed this documentary, Free Land for Free People, and it was a hoot. It was cool.
You can check it out. It's right on our YouTube channel.
Yeah, and a big reason why we wanted to make this is because there was a whole thing that with our nonprofit that's part of the land about the $2 revolution, where we wanted to, figure out a way that we could provide land for a lot more people with just like a little bit of money. So like you could pay, $2 a month into this kind of like fund, and then at a certain point people can like vote and decide, like what kind of land gets purchased with that, and then it can be like shared for the people.
Yeah, this fits into like how our plan, I guess, of like.
I'm gonna check is it still recording? Yeah, it is.
Yay. I guess like understanding the garden as one space, and then how we imagined that it could support the creation of new places. And it's a unique intentional community. A lot of other intentional communities have, memberships and people that kind of more live there permanently, raise children there. Whereas at the garden, it's more like this nomadic space that's shared amongst like hundreds and hundreds of people that are kind of loosely connected through the rainbow community. And so most people that spend time there don't live there year round. We usually help out there a couple months of the year. And then also I work in New York, and so we're kind of like flow in and out. But yeah, so I guess the $2 revolution, which does exist, you can support it on peoplesprojectearth.org. $2 revolution is kind of like imagining, okay, this is a way that we could show how a lot of people contributing a little bit could help the expansion of this network. We could have like imagining like, okay, imagine there's a space in Florida that people can go to, and if you're traveling through Florida, that there's like tons of fruit trees there, and you can like go collect some star fruit and continue on, or you could go see what's up there. Maybe there's some people that have been staying there a couple weeks that'll be there and can cook for you or play music together, or just kind of like these nomadic hubs that are open and free for people to access and share. And so that idea is something that existed when we got to the garden, and we were just kind of tried to help figure out how it would actually work, how, and get closer and closer. And so in our journey at the garden, we are able to crowdfund the purchase of another land in Tennessee. And then there's also a small piece in Florida. And then through this TV show, we were able to get the land in Missouri. But I think it's another good thing to note is like how much we are figuring it out as we're going along. It's like the idea of like, it was like this vision of, oh yeah, all these people are going to share this land. But like, that's obviously complicated. How does that actually look? Like, something we've noticed at the garden is like, we want to share with everybody, but also if there's no one there who has any experience of how the place works, it starts to fall apart really quickly. Like the buildings start to degrade, and people break the shower, and so we've been trying to figure out this balance between, how to steward the land, but then also how to keep like it not create hierarchy amongst those stewards and everything, whatever. I just want to, we're going to have a lot of podcast episodes to talk about because I could talk about this stuff all day. But I wanted to like note that in watching the show, we're figuring it out too. We're trying to figure out how to make these visions a reality. And there are like valid criticisms of like, we're not always doing the very best job at it, but we're giving it our whole hearts. We're trying as hard as we can.
Yeah.
And yeah, one of the hardest things is sometimes like, getting along.
Yeah. And
because we're a bunch of people with a bunch of different ideas. We don't have one central person who says this is the mission. We're all collectively trying to figure it out, and so obviously that is complicated.
And we are like one of the most, maybe like, I don't know, this is what I like to say, is we're one of the most messiest groups in society. Like the traveling community are like a bunch of misfits, and like, like for me in particular, like I really struggle with life, and then, like for us to be trying to figure this out like that, I mean, like you need the crazies to like almost push these kind of like ways of living more, because like we're figuring outside of the box, but also we are outside of the box people. Like, we're not really great at life, and to try and do something so big is extremely difficult, but like we're the ones who are willing to like start to take it on. And it's important to understand that this kind of like way of life is something that we've been completely separated from. Like we used to live in tribes, and then we used to live in these compounds of families, in like these village family units. And then we've been kind of like separated into the nuclear family, which we have a mom and dad, and we go to school, and that's that. And we work towards industrialization. And so we're trying to figure out like, how do we live back like how we kind of did, with like, our new social understandings of the way that we should be living and treating each other. And
it's hard.
It's really hard.
But that's why we get comments all the time that are like, communes don't work. If they tried it already, just give up. I'm like, okay, yeah, I guess I could just give up and go back and live in an apartment. But it's like, also, we could keep trying, because like...
But it did work for so long.
Right. Yeah, people look at the examples, which I think that's some weird marketing thing, too, is like there's some weird, like there's like this common idea that they don't work. Like there's so many people that are really strongly want to believe that. And yeah, it's definitely hard. But as long as we don't give up, then it's still working, right?
Yeah.
But exactly. It is hard. It's definitely hard.
And
I was going to say also in response to, so you were saying like it's messy also because there is no leader. Like if it would almost be a lot simpler if there was just one person who decided, but it's not. Like we're constantly arguing about things because we all have different ideas. And that's something I see CJ pointing out a lot too, is like, if those 40 people agree on something, it's probably for good reason, Like, I don't know.
Yeah, and I wanted to talk, you were talking about the nonprofit too, and I think it's just really nice to know that where the $2 revolution comes from is from the People's Project. You're saying peoplesproject.earth.org or whatever. You can go check it out too. But where that came from was here in New York City during the Occupy Wall Street movement, where, like we realized that there was a lot of the elites, like using our money and using our economics to kind of like mess us up. And there was so many people gathered there to try and create change. And one of them people was Shine, and she was like part of that thing heavily, and kind of like came up with this idea of the People's Project. And so like,
and that's cool actually. If you read, she has some books out about it. One of them's called the Cardboard and Sleeping Bags, but I never even realized why it was called the People's Project. And then I was reading part of that book, and when she's in Zuccotti Park, it's like they had the People's Library, like the People's Coffee Shop, and the idea was kind of like, from how I understand it, is like, that these are resources for the people, like we're not selling each other things, we're we're kind of like doing it for the people, and that's kind of the idea behind the People's Project, which I thought is really beautiful.
Yeah. So like two big pillars of like where we're at is like, this Occupy Wall Street vibe and this rainbow gathering vibe, and like how do we affect people on a big scale and affect ourselves on a big scale to, be better to each other on the earth.
While we're talking about rainbow gatherings, there was something I wanted to address. I guess we're going to start going into the episodes where rainbows are portrayed very scary.
It's crazy.
I think Patrick said it right. Like, it's like people gathering in the woods. That's a rainbow gathering.
But when they said that, they said it to something that was like, he was talking about people getting like murdered and killed in the woods.
Explain, yeah.
Oh, okay.
Like that. Rainbow gathering has really bad press, which, I think an important thing to understand is like, okay, it seems weird. Why are they going in the woods? Blah blah blah. Like if you look at the city of Portland and you sum it up on there was a sexual assault, there was a murder, like every city, like you could say, look, these two things happened at a rainbow gathering, that's why it's scary. It's like there's thousands of people gathering at rainbow gatherings. It's like so much beauty is happening. It's like looking at like one person that dies at a festival and saying like that festival is it's whatever. I don't know. It gets so much bad press. Sorry, I cut you off and then I didn't.
No,
even
it's okay.
it well.
Yeah. Yeah, but bad press, and I guess that's what we're kind of trying to change by, creating these, this podcast, for example, and just to like try and understand like how media is working against, groups of people that are trying to create, change that help us no longer need, these like consumption way of living like the media in the first place. But I guess that kind of could lead to like, how the production even came to be. Right?
Yeah. So
TikTok.
I'm assuming that most people listening to this would have maybe had some idea of the TikTok thing, but I guess we could go over it quickly.
Well, yeah, basically, we made the documentary. We were trying to get the 2DR out there as well.
Right, okay.
And there were people on the land like also making TikToks, like Emil was making TikToks. And it was a platform that I didn't even understand. You were making TikToks way before, like about like you dancing and having fun, like with your family and stuff like this. And I was like, oh, what's this kind of thing? And then I made like a TikTok and it instantly got 30,000 views. And I'm someone who's been trying to make videos about like this kind of lifestyle for a long time now, and I was getting no views. Well, so I was like, whoa, this is really working. And then we just kept making videos, and at a certain point, so many people wanted to like check it out, be a part of it. So we're just like, yeah, like if you want to come, here's the address and you can just show up. And then of course that whole vibe really took a turn whenever we started talking about like when I ended up on a live stream mentioning about the cat situation, which was, maybe a blessing and a curse. I don't know which one it is, because, it definitely helped the world know about this kind of way of life more. Which is a funny thing, because like we're playing on these like two really weird, these weird things, because we're making this TV show where we know they're gonna fuck us a little bit, but everything's almost worth it to have the kind of like to kind of like spread like community way of life. So like the whole cat thing, like I'm sure like really made it explode, but also turned so many people against us. So it's this double-edged sword.
It's just like trying to trust the process. Like maybe the cat was like always there for that reason. Like it was, we needed that whole story to get the like how much it exploded.
Yeah. But
people love to hate something, but
I would love to talk about the whole real depth of the cat story, but we should do that probably later state in its own video. Keep listening.
We'll talk about it.
And then we so many people were enjoying us, so many people were not, And then at a certain point, we were just getting so many death threats that, it was just insane. I was really afraid because we put our address out there online. We're like, no, what the hell? What are we going to do? And then Vice, wanted to make a documentary about us, but not just Vice. There were so many different productions that wanted to do something with us. But, I grew up watching Vice. That's what, I was watching when I was like 18 or something, 17, 16. Kind of like questioning, like, well, how am I living? Is it, and it just seemed like a great opportunity to, help the youth in that way know about this, alternative lifestyle.
Okay, wait. Pause for a second. I need to just think.
Well, I can keep going. I can keep talking while you think.
It's hard for me to think.
Well, it's okay.
Okay. Sorry.
This.
Okay.
But I can.
What are we talking about though right now? We're talking about Vice.
I'm gonna talk a little bit about how the production even came to be.
Okay.
And so many of these different production companies were contacting us, but Vice is the one that we decided to go with, and it seemed like they told our story, but in a way that it felt like they kind of closed off this vibe that we're not a cult. But at the end of the documentary, it kind of made us seem like we had closed, or we weren't actually still doing what we were doing. So we kind of knew there's still more to come, and we still need to show the world that we didn't give up. We just had to make sure that people didn't.
And also I mean, I don't know, for people sorry, this is a little off topic, but just I want to put out there that people listening now, I don't think the message is come to the garden, come to the garden. The message is now look at what we're doing, and if you're trying to do it, we can help give you the tools to figure out how you can do it too. Because obviously the whole world can't gather in one space, the garden is maybe just this loud example, but the way that it's going to work isn't always come to the garden.
Yeah, and it wasn't ever come to the garden and live here.
Right.
It was come to the garden and experience it for a minute.
Right.
Because having access to this infrastructure or these ways of structuring ourselves are really profound and can help you, figure that out also for yourself. So it was never about, hey, come live here. It's, hey, come check it out. Maybe you'll have a good experience and learn some stuff along the way.
Okay.
But then production.
So I would say, I think Discovery Channel was aware of the garden
way before.
Yeah, before even the Vice documentary came out. But I think that once it exploded, they sent somebody early on.
No, but even before then, it was
before the Vice thing they sent her.
No. So the thing with Discovery before was that they were having conversations because, but they had so much a crazy contracts with they were wanting the garden for months to do whatever they wanted in all these crazy ways, which. They pretty much just did that anyway, however they wanted, but just without less contracts. But so what happened was there was so many these production companies trying to reach out to us, and one of them was this ITV kind of thing, and they were and we were on top of a mountain skiing at some point, and they called me, and I'm like, hey, what's up? And they're like, hey, we want to do, and there was so many different production companies trying to reach out to us, but none of them could do the one thing that we really wanted, which is the understanding that we can't actually do it at the garden.
Right. That was kind of going into what I was saying is we realized that the garden had way too much exposure already. And so if we were to film a whole show there and it being open, it would just be it would completely ruin the place forever.
But this ITV thing, we did all these interviews with them. They said, hey, yes, we can provide you with the funding to buy new land, and yes, we'll do that because we understand, yes, that's the only way that you're willing to do it. But after they were trying to pilot us and sell us, and we did all these interviews, and it just didn't really it didn't go anywhere, but they ended up trying to pitch it to Discovery. And so that's at the point when Discovery sent people to the garden. The idea was completely our idea, that we were going to go to a new piece of land and create a community from scratch, and about us doing that.
Okay.
No other organization, and not Discovery, came up with this idea. It was completely ours. And
Right. So when Discovery Channel came to, they sent the production team of Hot Snakes to our spring gathering. We wait for that plane to leave.
no, I mean, maybe it's fine. We got a plane over us. We're outside right now, so we got cars, we got planes, we got the sun. So I'm actually gonna put these silly sunglasses on right now because I can't see, because I'm ginger.
Okay. So I'm trying to like hone in on this like linear storyline because I feel like we're all over the place. But it's a crazy story. So Discovery Channel sent a production company, Hot Snakes, to our garden spring gathering. They wanted to film a reality TV show at the garden. They actually wanted to just surprise us and start filming right then and there.
They had all the film crew, they had the casts.
And it caused like mass panic. Everybody was like, no, what are you doing? Because it was like out of nowhere. Like they literally just showed up. And so, there was a lot of people at that gathering. Like not everybody at the garden is willing to be filmed, so that also we were planning this gathering, so it just kind of like threw everything off. So we ended up having a lot of meetings with them, not allowing them to film at all, but starting to talk about it. And so we pitched, our same idea of like, if you want to, like explaining to them that, what we're doing here is bigger than this one place. What if you made a show about us creating an intentional community from scratch? We don't exactly know even who would be living there, who it's for, but we would start like gathering all our people that we know that from different communities all around the world to come together and show how to like where you would start. You get to raw land and what do you build first? How do you make structure? Things like that. And yeah, they were into the idea.
And we're still recording.
Cool. How long are we?
I don't know. I didn't check.
Okay.
But
yeah, they were into the idea. And where do we go from there? We started meeting week by week.
But then they actually brought Tyler and another girl, Hannah, with them at the time. So they were so ready to film. They had filmers there, and Tyler came and he was like, "Hey, I'm a personal investigator." And straight away we're like, "What?" And it was just kind of like crazy that they just kind of like showed up so like gun ho, kind of like ready to go. And yeah, they created a lot of like friction for our gathering, and that should have been like a nice sign straight away that, hey, this is going to be a lot of hard work.
Yeah. It was hard from the very beginning. Yeah, and then we ended up, they let us pick land wherever we wanted, which was pretty cool. They said, okay, sure. They agreed to kind of pay us in like a lump sum, and so we decided to use that money to buy the land. And we also used some of it for like the materials. A lot of people have been asking like how we bought stuff and whatever. So yeah, we used the money to start this new project. We were like, damn, this is going to be a lot of work. We need like, and we also were like, man, they're going to try to make this, like we wanted to have like nothing to do with the garden, essentially. We wanted to just be about people building an intentional community.
And we had so many conversations with them.
Yeah, we had a lot
about like
that.
it not being anything to do with the garden. Like, okay. And they were like, yeah, okay. But we just need to like film a starting off point to like help people understand like the whole story. But we don't even have to mention that you're at the garden. Lo and behold, it's called the garden. And
it's also like I feel like they really don't show enough to even explain why. Like I don't know. I've seen a lot of comments too of people being like, "Wait, what's going on here?" Like it's just like it all happens so fast. It's just like, "Yep, now we're going to do land. Nope, we're doing like," and they cut the way they edited it is like so chaotic. But I think they're trying to appeal to like a younger audience, so they're trying to like keep keep it really fast so that people are like hooked.
Yeah, that's exactly a big proponent of this show, is that like Discovery are kind of like dying to people like ourselves who are creating TikToks, YouTube videos, you know, like real authentic media. The youth have all been going to this, and so they're trying to create a show that kind of like appeals to that crowd again and brings these people back. So it's like, it's cut in a way that just doesn't even make any sense, but just about like holding attention.
Yeah. Whew. But
Anyway,
we got people we like reached out to people from different intentional communities is what we were doing, saying like, hey, anybody with experience, we're gonna try to make this like a show that shows like all these different people with different skills coming together. And so our group kind of grew as we went along. You know, it started with like me and you and Patrick and Mai and Shine and Vibe and Moon and Magic, Carl, all Bobby, meeting each week, thinking about where we wanted to go. And then we were like, all right, we obviously can't do it with 10 people. Let's get more. And so then there's a lot of people that a Bee and Swoop, they were involved a lot from the beginning. Yeah, we trying to figure out, you know, we were like mostly focusing on like, damn, like we're gonna have to, like, we want to show how we can like build this kitchen and this compost toilet and show people how to build it, and what if we don't accomplish it, like, you know, we were thinking about like, you know, making sure that we were going to be able to like do something, not just be like random people on a field. But now watching it, I'm like, they might like, it's like they focus so little on like what we're actually doing to survive on the land. Like, it's like they seem to be taking clips from like every part of the like 6-week process and just like jumbling it all together in like no linear order.
But pretending that it's a linear order, because they're saying that this is like Tyler's 1 day, his 2 day, his 3 day, but that's actually so
all
false.
1 day. It was all 1 day. It's so bizarre.
So fake. But, you know, yeah, we were like, you know, trying to get like more people involved in the project to show that we're like a bigger movement. And that's when we reached out to the Federation of Egalitarian Communities, which is this like other network in the US of these bigger communities. And then that's how we got introduced to Zans. They were like, oh, this girl wants to be a part of this project. Which, I mean, yeah, maybe it was really tough to be like with completely new people on this piece of land who we've never worked with before, to be like, hey, let's create this thing, because we don't know if we actually agree on the way that we're meant to be living. And then not even like the added element of cameras that were recording a TV show was just one big ginormous mistake. I think like
it was tough because
it created drama.
I think it creates drama, but you kind of see, I mean, like, you know, in episode 1, I think I pretty much like how they, you know, show the garden, how they show it. It was really fun to watch us all get in the buses and here we go and da da da. Like, there were some really beautiful moments. But in episode 2, I think you start to see how like the stress really started to build up, because it was just like the importance of like, we felt like this, like, you know, oh my gosh, this is like, you know, it's happening in real time. We're hungry. We're like when I end that council, I'm like, I'm sorry, I'm hungry. Like, we had just gotten to the land and we hadn't figured out how we were going to get water yet. Or we kind of knew, but we didn't have any. Like, there's like these pressures of like, you know, we are actually needing to like build a fire and prepare food and, you know, and dig those toilets, and like we have all that plus the cameras plus like, you know, friction amongst people. I think you really see the way that it was kind of like pushing everyone to their limits. And yeah,
it was just so funny about like that point where you were talking about where at that council, you know, because I think, you know, a lot of what we want you to try and like understand is that the editing process of what we were doing on that land is like completely false. Now, you can even just understand this on the first level. It's literally called the garden, and we're not at the garden. Multiple of the people who are like coming to the land, like Oak is like, I'm at the garden. We are in Missouri, and we're not even in the Ozarks. Like, so much of this story in the editing has been fabricated. And like that, you mentioned about that, like that that council, it like starts with one person talking about a topic. We're like, hey, yeah, we need to get water. And then I'm like, yeah, we need water, we need to start this kitchen build. And then and this is like a 10-second clip, and then Niah's like, I want to sage and do this thing, and it shows that as like this very like 1 minute or less conversation that happened, but in truth it was hours of us sitting in the sun, beating down on us, and us being really exhausted, and then her saying that she wants to do this whole other thing right at the end, which is this ending of Niah wanting to end every circle is a topic that I want to bring upon earlier. But just to understand, like, the editing is
it makes it really
insane.
hard to understand how we got to that point. But like CJ keeps saying, you know, it's like, trying to point out that if 30 people all agree on something, there's probably more to it than what they're showing. And it's sad. Yeah, I wish it could have worked out with Niah. It feels, it sucked. It felt like, for me in that moment, like, damn, like, I really don't want to have to, like, do this, but, like, it felt like the whole thing was going to be ruined if we didn't, because it was causing so much stress. Just the difference in intentions of why people were there, you know, like we were like all these people who came together, like, really with this intention of, like, showing community living to the world. And I just think her intentions were really different, and it was making everything really, really, really hard. And it's hard to see that. And I don't want to, like, go on and on, you know, complaining about, you know, whatever. I really wish Niah the best. I think that she means well, but it was not working out at all. And it's just really hard to see that through that way that they edited everything.
It's really hard to maybe understand exactly, like, my thinking of the matter in the whole thing as well, because, like, I'm obviously portrayed as this insanely paranoid person, which I do say, like, I am paranoid. Like, I live in this lifestyle because, like, I have been questioning a lot of things since I was a kid about the way that we're living. And, you know, like, we talked about the way that we're living online, and then all of a sudden we have thousands of death threats and the FBI calling about us. Like, and I think it's important to understand, like, why am I paranoid? And I was just, you know, you can do your own research into it. I'm actually going to make some videos about it on my YouTube channel, Treeisalive, so you can understand, like, how certain movements that are kind of like questioning the status quo have been, like, infiltrated and being, like, train wrecked. And it's the Black Panthers, or is it the Black Panthers? Or is it the Black Panthers?
I think that they are. Yeah.
It's because I was just like, it's so funny. Like, I was just on the plane, and there's even like a movie that you can watch that is all about, like, this group of people who are, you know, trying to question the way that the government's been treating them. They're all obviously very black, and questioning, like, the way that they're living, but they're creating, like, organization outside of the government, and they're providing children with free food and all these different cool things. And then the CIA and the FBI infiltrate their community and become, like, the security kind of people, and end up, like, killing people here and there, and, you know, messing up their whole movement. So this is not just, like, a paranoid person saying this might be happening. Like, history is shown that, like, they are actively doing this, and there's even a movie that you can watch on a bloody plane that even talks about it. So it's just like, it's you know.
But do you think that Niah as an FBI agent?
Well, so the weird thing is that, she has the history of her family in the military. She found out about this project because we were going to be on TV. She was interested in this. And it's just the point for me that makes it so, like, strange is that, okay,
But this
Niah was fine, and Niah was fine and easy to get along with until the exact moment the cameras appeared.
Right.
And all of a sudden, the moment when the cameras appeared, she just changed.
Okay. But I personally, I don't think that as an FBI agent. I think that it looks like in the show that is the reason why she was asked to leave, is because you were suspicious of her, and that's not what happened.
Yeah.
So I don't think that elaborating on everything that you're talking about right now is really explaining like that there was so much more to it of why 30 people all decided to ask her to leave than you being suspicious of her. That was like, I didn't even know that you thought that. Like, that's completely unrelated to why, not completely unrelated, but like that's not why we asked her to leave.
Yeah, I guess when you were
it at all.
interviewing me, I was like trying to like talk about the fact that radical communities have been infiltrated by the FBI, and I was trying to like make that public awareness.
Yeah.
And then it was like made into me, and I mean, I was definitely very afraid of that happening, and I just didn't understand why someone would, want to train wreck us. But the truth is that she's not an FBI agent. She's actually just someone who wants to be on TV and have the attention, because like she even mentions at one point that like she doesn't want to leave because she hasn't told her story yet. She said them words, and you can even watch that on the episode. And it's evident that the whole reason why she was there is to tell her story of her being like, his story is that she has been like society is isolating her spirituality way of thinking, I think, and
I mean, I'm sure she has great messages to share with the world. Like she's not, an evil person. Like she wanted to be on TV. Like, we have our message that we wanted to share with the world. She wanted to be on TV to share the message she wanted to share with the world, and that's I don't think that there's any problem with that, and I don't think that that's why she was asked to leave either. But the what's not shown is that, like, the ways that her suspicions of us and all these, like, I mean, she pulls Tyler in the episode and starts talking, like, I think once. Hey, sorry it cut me off there for a second. I think the rest of that thought is, you see in that episode she pulls Tyler and kind of seems to be kind of like breeding this like bad feelings in him. And we kind of realized that if she was going to do that to everybody that was showing up, that it would kind of hurt the whole functionality of the group a lot. Yeah, that council is 5 hours long.
And 3 hours in is the moment when Tom and Zans were like, I don't know about this, guys. And so that's why I, was screaming in frustration, is because like we were going on about this for 3 hours, and then like all of a sudden now you just like let us know that you don't agree.
Which is also not ideal that like actually this comes up later in the show, is like I felt really bad that council went on for 5 hours, but Niah really, really, really didn't want to leave, and was really, really like, I don't know. It wasn't like people were trying to like rip her apart for hours. It was just like she was really digging her heels in. But
can I defend myself just for
of course, yeah. I just wanted to say one more thing about. Well, I guess I don't know. I just think that I like what you said about. Like how big of an opportunity this felt like, or like how it's like for the intentional community movement, and then to feel like it was getting messed up by somebody, why that made you so emotional. I think that was like, I hope that people can empathize with that.
So I have like a few things that, like I wrote down here just to kind of like I don't know, like the second episode really made me look like an ass, and so like I want to kind of like just help you understand. I am an ass, you know. I know that. I'm certainly not perfect. I have a lot of problems, but you know, the second episode specifically made me look like an insane asshole. So I just wanted to like, you know, go through some things and help you understand. So like, yeah, like you know, you can see on the first episode we're at the garden. The first day they come to the land, they asked me and Julia to give a tour, and you know, we get it all set up. And then at the last moment, as soon as we're about to film, she's like, I want to like follow. And it wasn't that specifically about hair that she would make me. It was just like in general, you know, like when you're like filming, like it's a very vulnerable state that you're in, and to have like someone watching you, for me, just like makes me freeze up more. And of course, I feel pretty comfortable with you, but even with anyone, it's really tough. And then like this other scene is that like here in the van saying someone stole my notebook, which is so funny because like the day before, the second day before, we were at an Amish market, kind of like buying tools for this project, and she had her notebook with her, and like because she was marking down like all the things that we bought, you know, she was helping out, she was being a part of the whole thing, which was amazing. She was great at that point, you know. And then as soon as the cameras came, it was all of a sudden we stole her notebook. But what obviously happened is that we were just on this trip, and you know, we were in that van the day before, and now the notebook is there. You know, like you just left it in there.
I was so frustrated at this point because I was like, this is like the first point I realized, like, oh, I thought the plot was like that we are going to go to this new land and plant a bunch of trees, and we're bringing dirt, and we're going to refertilize this, and we're going to like grow food, and like, and I realized like the cameras are just following her saying who stole my diary, and I was just like, you know, the reason why this is like one of the first moments that I realized, like, oh, this show is just a reality you know, and that's why it was frustrating, because we were like, no, this is not what the show is about. The show is not about who stole your diary. The show is about intentional communities, like off-grid living, like this whole movement. Like, then I think that is maybe another way to explain why we felt like it was necessary to ask her to leave, is like, wait a minute, this person is completely distracting from what we have devoted so much time to, you know.
Yeah.
So yeah, go on, sorry.
And you know, like we're like sitting there like saying, who hasn't read her diary? Oh, I loved, you know, I hope you understand like how much we were joking in that scenario, because it felt so wild to us that
Right.
we've been working on this whole project for so long, and as soon as the camera's coming, this new person's like saying that we stole this and doing this. It's like, what is, like, it was so funny.
And it was kind of like our strategy to like, we're like, okay, you know, we're filming a reality television show. It might get crazy. If stupid drama starts developing, let's just try to laugh at it, right? So like, you see that we're trying to just laugh at what's happening, and it looks like we're just like laughing at her, but it's just like, it, you know, I don't know. We're trying to just not take petty drama too seriously and focus on what we were trying to come together to do, you know.
Yeah. And so, you know, the big points that I really want to get across is that like the editing of the actual show is not how it happened. It's, you know, like the whole, you know, like you can easily understand this in like one of the biggest dirts that they ended up doing to me is me stealing Niah's phone, and then the TP being built, and then us asking her to leave. So that is absolutely not the order that it happened in. What happened, which kind of is more evident to why maybe I, you know, took her phone in this situation, is that we had a council where she was consents to leave. This is the big thing, guys. and she was consents to leave, and it was 24 hours later she was making no attempt to leave. And us having, like, we don't have police, we don't have this kind of thing, so it's like for us to come together and have consensus on someone to leave is our only security or defense mechanism to ensure that we can be safe with each other. And so, like, this is why after I'm like, I don't know if she's going to poison. Like, I was just freaking out so much because this person would not leave. And we consented on her to leave. And so, she was making no attempt. And then so remember the TP part, like if you watch the show, it's me outside a built teepee. The teepee's built and she's filming herself in the teepee 24 hours after we consented to leave. And the teepee's built.
Right,
and then I take her phone, because the thing is, like, that's where, like, the whole hair filming comes in, is that, like, she didn't actually, like, she wasn't doing anything for the project. She was just filming herself and other people, and she had all this stuff, like, this is another reason why we had to ask her to leave, because she brought all this stuff, but she didn't, for days on the land, she didn't do anything with it. She promised that she was going to build like this, all this stuff, and she didn't do anything. She was just filming herself. And I think the point you were trying, and so
the point you were trying to make with the teepee was that in the shot where you took her phone, the teepee is built, and then later they show these shots of the teepee being built. So it's like that's complete proof that the order of that was not accurate.
Yeah,
and that,
if you need proof.
Yeah, and I think that while it was still a wild move to take her phone, at least maybe it could be better understood as something that you did because you felt kind of defenseless, because even though everyone had consented for her to leave, she was refusing to do so.
And so that's why I took her phone, because I was like, if I take it and hide it, like, outside of the property, the only thing that she cares about is her phone. So, like, if I could take her phone and put it out there, her only result is that she would then leave to get her phone. If you can, that was the logic in this instant 1 second moment that I had, which was obviously not the best move to make, but that was my thinking. And then, like, later on, it's like me screaming, saying no one else is doing anything about it, because like, I felt alone in the fact that she was consents to leave, and we just didn't really know, like, what to do and how to do it, because everything was just giving her more screen time.
It's actually the first time that this has happened. I remember Bodhi and I kept talking about that. Like, I've spent, like, a good part of 2 years at the garden, and every time that we've asked someone to leave, they just leave. So it was really weird to see somebody refusing. But that's also kind of where we were like, damn, like, we're doing the same community thing that we usually do, but it's different now because there's these cameras here, and that is giving people a reason to be here, even if they don't get along with anyone else in the community, or like, it was changing things. It was changing the way we usually operate, because it was like, usually if people in the community want someone to leave, they have no reason to stay.
Yeah.
But the cameras changed that.
Because she hadn't yet told her story, is what she said.
Yeah.
But
let's just, I really don't want to just rip her. I mean, I know that you had a whole episode where it looks like you're the bad guy, so I understand. But
well, I really loved Niah before the cameras came. Like, I actually was like, this is like a great person to have a part of the project. Like, just for a little, like, personality things, is that, like, we both like, like, dancing. We both like electronic music. She was gonna bring this sound system where we could, like, like, have ecstatic dances. These are all the things that she said that she was going to do, but she didn't do any of that. And that's not because we asked her to leave. It's because she on the land for many days just didn't do anything. But yeah. And so the timing was all wrong, and I just need to finish off with what was the final thing that put me off the edge with Niah, and why I called the council for her to leave, and it was the TP situation specifically. So like, as you can tell, like, you know, like the whole timing of the show is wrong because this has happened about the TP. So what happened was, Hoka, the guy who was facilitating the TP build, he, you know, asked Bodhi to like light the sacred fire.
And Bodhi had built this amazing bow drill out of all materials that he found on the land. It was so cool. I wish they featured it. He literally built a bow drill using cedar bark as the string. And yeah, it's like, I don't know if you've seen, if anyone's not familiar with a bow drill, they show it on certain different like survival shows. It's like pretty much something you can use to start a fire. And Bodhi had built one, and Hoka had asked him to use it to start the sacred fire for the land, which is like was a special moment, you know, for this new project.
And I kind of want to get back to that point, but I just want to say some things that happened just before that scenario. But you want to finish off?
Okay, yeah, you can.
Oh well, I don't know. Now the timing is off of the story.
Sorry.
It's okay, but so what happened before is that like we were having a ceremony where we were tying stuff to the teepee, and she enforced herself to. I didn't like understand what was happening at this point, but because it was the second thing that really showed, is that she was at the back, and she wanted to make sure that she was the one to put her energy last onto the teepee, which, okay, might be fine, you know, but you just got to understand, like, figure out, like, why does she want to do this? And then, like, the second point where she did this is that we were then putting poles into the closing of the teepee, like it's like this where the door is, and she literally stood there next to the door and making sure that no one, like that she was the last person to put that pole in. And there was like this whole thing where like he was just putting in the poles and helping us out because he was tall, and then she made sure that she was the last one to put that thing in. And for me, like I think a big proponent is toxic spirituality and people feeling like they are more spiritually enlightened than other people, and that they had to put their energy onto it and even more. And that's not even talking about the fact that she cosplayed as a Native American, you know. And then Bodhi's doing the bow drill. He's trying to light the whole thing, and he's having a hard time doing it, but we're all patient, we're all chilling out, and then she lights her sage and throws it in. It was wild, and it was just, you know, never mind her trying to turn everyone against each other, never mind also her, you know, not doing anything for the project. She also was just like being a toxic spiritual person, in my opinion.
Okay.
And so that's why I had to call a council. That's why I had to ask her to leave. I'm sorry, it's hard. I know. I'm sorry.
Okay. Can we not talk about it
No,
anymore?
yeah,
I'm so over it.
No,
I just hate that this is the plot line, and this is why I just didn't want, like this. I don't want this to be what our podcast is about either. Like our podcast should be about educating people on how to start their own land projects, and it's just like we're getting sucked in. We're getting sucked into this toxic drama. Like now trying to defend ourselves, and I bet she'll make a video in response to this, and she'll say, no, I did it this way, and then you'll want to make another video in response. Like, enough with this drama, you know. Like I understand, like, you know, it must be really hard to watch, like, yeah, like but like, you know, we can explain I guess explaining ourselves, it makes sense, but it's just like, I hope that the people that want to know what we're actually doing know that, well, I guess we're balancing it, right? We're addressing the drama. Everybody wants that. And we're also educating. But I'm just in the drama. I can't take it.
Well, I think it would be different, Jules, if you were in my shoes that episode.
Well, she also, she said that I'm the sneakiest, which I think I think she might be onto something with that one. I think I am maybe the sneakiest. But yeah, just because, I mean, it's like you're watching all this craziness unfold, and I'm like, oh my God, like what is happening? Like, and so I'm just thinking, like, how do we like tactically turn this around? Like it's like this like beast that you opened, like this filming has started and everything's flipping out, and I see you flipping out next to me, and I see like and I'm like, okay, how do I like make the situation better? And yeah, I think maybe sometimes I'm gonna be sneaky in doing that, and I might have got busted because I didn't remember always when they were recording me. So that's like kind of a funny thing. I mean, my intentions are always like good, but my tactics are sometimes sneaky. So I thought that was actually kind of funny that she said that, because it's what a crazy thing to be able to watch yourself on television in times when you didn't even know you were being recorded. It's just wild. It's just what a wild ride. And I'm like watching it, and I'm like, wow, is Tree like really paranoid? Like I'm like learning about you through, like, I don't know. Like I'm trying not to like take it, but it's like it's so bizarre. It's so bizarre to like watch it all play out.
And I, like my profession is, being behind and being in front of the camera. So like, like my understanding of like trying to get this, message out there is by being like wild and like, holding attention or trying to. So that's why, like, I'm sometimes a little bit more crazy, and I hope you can understand that, like, from this too, is that like, yeah, I'm a bit crazy, but I'm not just that, like, I'm trying to make an entertaining TV show here that talks about, education and, excitement, but in that topic right now, I actually need a pee, which is my big thing, but I'm just going to pee right there. While you maybe, I don't know what you want to talk about.
I think it's time to end the podcast.
Yeah?
Take your microphone off.
What? But no one's going to hear me. I can't though. Wait, so do you want to talk about how
I want to end the topic of Niah by saying that I wish her the best, and that I'm sorry that that must have been a traumatizing experience, the way everything happened, and yeah, it was an intense time, and I also want to say that going forward, another thing I wanted to talk about. Okay, I wanted to talk about how crazy it is that they're able to play scary music. I talked about this in one of my TikToks, but I just want to talk about it a little more. That, like, we were planting trees, and they play scary music over us planting trees, and it looks like we're this, like, scary cult that's, like, shoveling in unison or something. Like, what the hell is that? What is up with that? That's crazy.
It was crazy, Jules.
There's so much to talk about. It's crazy. Like, I mean,
I don't talking.
I don't think our podcast should be 2 hours long. I think
dude, podcasts are 3 hours long.
That's
don't
too
you worry.
long. That's too long.
No, but we do have to talk about these points, because if this is about the second episode, then this is like a really important understanding. Is like whenever they were like slightly showing videos of us doing things that were slightly questionable, it was like horror. Literally, the music that you use.
Like, we're digging holes to plant trees.
I don't know. There was different things though too,
Yeah.
And they were playing the most like eerie music, like what us wearing a mask and eerie music, and literally Oak is saying that he would eat a person if he had to, and the music for that was da 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 da, like it was, and then when it was us, it was like, if we had talked about eating a person, it would have been like the trailer of the show, like, this is the cult. Like, it was insane how they always made us look like the crazy.
But then everyone else has like guns. Like, what's going on? It's so bizarre.
We didn't know about that.
We're like sitting around talking about, like, making sure everybody agrees before we ask somebody to leave, and then they're like literally coming in with guns. It's so bizarre.
Oh yeah. And
So
Tyler and people, most of the other people over there said the most crazy stuff, but the way they edited it
Yeah.
always made us look, because that's how music is a big part of filmmaking, and you can change the emotion of what someone's saying through it. So whenever Tyler says that Niah has fake boobs, oh, it's just a fine shot. Whenever Tyler like kills an animal and licks its blood, oh, it's just this fine little off-grid shot. But if we had done that, it would have been the most like insane moment of the show. And there was so many other things where apparently Tyler took the train into the show, which was not true. The reason why we got the land where it was is because we wanted it to have access with a train as well, where people could sustainably go from LA to this land in a way that didn't involve flying. But they all flew them in. They all lied. And then it was so funny. Like if you watch the show, there's like, it's not all craziness. There is these moments in the show where they're actually about the show that we wanted to create. But it's so funny. They somehow, you will see it time and time again. There's moments in the show where it actually is like about what we wanted to talk about and what we were doing. But it was only 1 minute long, and then they would put it in between two minute ad breaks. I don't know why they did that every time. It just like made the story never feel like it was about that, and it was all about the drama. But I don't know.
I loved that one little part where Patrick was talking about like the things that you need to start community.
Yeah, that was it.
That was beautiful. Yeah, I mean, at least it's in there. It's on TV. That's all we can be. Count our blessings. I don't know.
And Tyler showed up the day we asked Niah to leave. Then they said it was like his third day and all this crazy stuff.
Yeah, that all happened in the same day.
Doing Pat's bidding while we're planting trees, that was just absolutely wild. And we were not in the Ozarks. Multiple times they were like, we're in the deep Ozarks. We wanted land in the Ozarks. We didn't find land in the Ozarks. We were not in the Ozarks, and we're not at the garden. So maybe question the fact, are we a commune or even we're a cult? Because the truth is, are we even a commune? Okay, we know we're not a cult.
I know, right?
But a commune is an income sharing community. We're an intentional community. We're a community of people that are coming together on an intention. And there's many different types of communities. A commune is specifically an income sharing community. And yeah, we share a lot. We share land, but we don't actually like generate income to even share anyway. We buy stuff for each other. We have one kitchen. We have many aspects of our community that is a commune, but we're not, and it's because like the general population don't necessarily like understand this way of life. And the only way that they've ever heard about it is these communes that have turned into a cult and murdered everyone. And that's the only thing they hear about, because the media has been completely messing our movement up. And I hope from this podcast you can slightly understand that they're actually also doing it to us too. Maybe not. We'll also see from the rest of the episode.
Yeah.
Maybe. We don't know. We don't know.
Maybe it's just good drama.
Maybe they need good drama.
I don't know. It's hard to say.
We'll see it. We still have 4 more episodes to watch, so we'll find out how they're gonna do it. And it's not to say that we were amazing on that land. Like I messed up so many times. And that's totally fine that they showed that. But just understand
the music is like where they did this the most dirty, I think. Like it's
and the timing.
Yeah, it's not that we're perfect at doing what we're doing. It's like we're not always getting along. We're not like we're making mistakes because we're like stressed out for being filmed while we're making a lot of mistakes, but we're doing the best we can. And yeah, there's so much we'll probably have to talk about each week. And there's so much more just about the People's Project and about, the land trust and everything that we've been working towards, that I'm excited to be able to share through this podcast, because it's not something that's easy to understand overnight. So it'll be nice to have a place where people can go to like turn on some me and you talking about everything.
Yeah, and we can we can have guests on our show.
Yeah, I would really love to have our friend CJ. He was there with us on the land. You haven't really seen much of him yet, but he is super educated. Me and him are starting a project together in the Grand Canyon area that I'm really excited about. And yeah, so maybe we'll have CJ on soon. Maybe we'll have Tyler, Tashila on. Maybe we'll have, who knows?
Rel?
I don't know.
Yay.
But
We all want that.
we're going to keep on bringing on new people. This one maybe is all over the place because we just have so much to talk about.
And it's our first time doing a podcast.
Yeah, I know. It's funny, right? There's like different things I'm like listening to, like, yeah, I can like feel when we start to just like ramble, but then I'm like, how do I direct us back? And I'm like, it's crazy to be like in the moment trying to, but we'll get better at it. So sorry if we're a little rambly this time, but we'll get better as we go along. I think overall we did pretty good.
And the quality's gonna get better too. Right now we're filming from this phone, but we got this new microphones. So, if you want to also help support the creation of making a better thing, then, like share this video, subscribe. Soon you can even help us in more and cooler ways. But the tech will get better. We're trying, and we'll get more practice at this. And also, Julia is gonna help better tell you guys about how to create community land projects from scratch through land trusts, which this TV show was all about. It was like, we don't have jobs. I mean, you have a job sometimes, but like often, like most of the people in our community, we don't have an income. And so like we have this grand idea to create a network of land projects. Well, how are we going to get this land? Like we came up with the concept of the 2DR, but the reason why we filmed the TV show is to try educate people about this way of life, about off-grid infrastructure, to help you understand how to do it yourself, but also so that we can have money to buy land and put it into trust, so someone like yourself or other like-minded people can have access to it.
Yeah, we created a whole land trust that the Missouri land is in, so that it is shared amongst multiple people. It is governed through a board of directors, and that board of directors upholds the land as governed by the people that are present on it, which is like, I mean, there's a lot to talk about with that. I think it deserves its whole own episode, and it would be cool to have it in its own episode so it could be like a real reference point for people, because there are so many people out there who dream about sharing land with their friends. It's like a really growing in like meme culture and everything. You see these memes now that are like, anyone else with this friend group talking about raising kids together and all building little homesteads and sharing vegetables and blah blah blah. And so it would be great to create more educational avenues for people that are trying to do that kind of thing, because it wasn't like, now we hired a lawyer to start our land trust to make sure that we did it right, but now that we did that, I'm like, this is actually pretty easy. Like it's like, I think that you wouldn't even need to hire a lawyer, and it would be really easy to set up.
So in an episode coming soon,
how to make a land trust, how to start sharing land with your friends. And yeah, you can support us by subscribing to our YouTube channel and following along with what we're going to post. You can support the People's Project through the $2 Revolution, or through tons of awesome merch that we're selling right now on that website. And yeah,
hopefully I'll have my website up too, called treeisalive.com.
we're working on it. We're scrounging together all of our, we're like, we're on TV, get everything together.
But all my laptops are broke, so I can't even like edit, or like make a website. But hopefully I'll have it up soon, and yeah. Whatever.
All right. Thanks for listening. Yeah, I hope that all made somewhat sense.
Oh yeah, Treeisalive on Venmo and Cash App. I gotta.
You have a Venmo?
Do I have a Venmo?
No, I don't think you have a Venmo.
Oh, Venmo is juliamoneygod.
Venmo is juliamoneygod. Cash App is Treeisalive.
If you want to help us get better gear to make better videos for you guys, then that would be nice. But anyway, whatever.
Goodbye.
Enough of that. Bye, sweeties. Thanks for watching. And then we just stand up and walk away.